Hello friends, today I want to show you how I run Havens in nullsec with Smartbomb Prexi to make some pretty good ISK. This is quite a multi-box heavy setup, but you don't need as many accounts as I do. We'll talk about how many accounts you do need later. I'll first give you a quick overview of the fittings and stuff. So basically what I am doing is I warp my Prexi into a haven, a combat set in nullsec. And the cool thing with this haven is that the rats always spawn at the same point. So I have my Prexi here, and they have these smart bombs equipped. And what these do is, if I activate them, they have an area of, they have a AoE damage. So if I just have a lot of these Prexi with smart bombs, then I can kill these NPCs quite fast. And because they always spawn at the same point, I don't even need to move. I can just sit there and use these smart bombs. Yeah, you can also do this with Thunder Children or Stormbringers, but I prefer smart bombs due to them having no ammo cost, and they are also cheaper than Thunder Children if you do it with Prexi. You need a smart bomber. We'll show you the fit real quick. You can also do this with Makariels, especially if you have less toons, because Makariels are bigger and they have one more high slot, so they do more damage and have more range. But in Serpentis space, since we're using Thermal smart bombs, we don't really need more range, because they also already have 9k. The 8 high slot is a good thing if you do not have that many accounts, but if you have a lot of accounts, it doesn't really matter, and the Prexi are way cheaper. Like a Maka is like 3 billion or more, and this Prexi is only 1.7. So, in the high slots, we have obviously all smart bombs. Then in the mids, we got an MGD. This is for capital spawns. Sometimes in Havens, they can spawn like a Titan or a Dreadnought. And if that happens, you want to MGD away and warp away. If you do not MGD, but you try to warp, then they could lock you fast enough and point you. And if you do not have an MGD, then you're basically dead. Then we got the mid slot filled with cap. Smart bombs use quite a lot of cap, and we also have a local tank, so we do need a lot of cap, so that's why we have it. In the low slots we have a reactive armor hardener. This is very crucial, because we do a lot of damage to ourselves, because these smart bombs not only damage our rats, they also damage ourselves. So if you see here, I just took damage from that smart bomb. So we need to make sure that we can tank our smart bombs, which is why we have the reactive armor hardener, because this one, it will spool to 60% thermal, and then we will have quite a high thermal resistance. Then we have a rep. Sadly, this one needs to be a bit blinked. This is just because we need the rep power, and unless you want to use something like a Marauder or a Slapian implants, you do need some kind of bling. Then we got thermal hardeners. We got 3 thermal hardeners. This is also just to counter our own smart bombs. And a kinetic hardener. This is in case the NPCs do not die fast enough and lock us, so we can tank the NPCs as well. One thing to note is that the NPCs also do thermal damage, so this also helps with tanking them. And then we got, hey, more cap. In the rigs we got more cap. Yeah, these fits, they use a lot of cap, but that works. Okay, so these are the smart bombers. Now why do I have this EOS? Well, let's go to him. You always need a gunner with your smart bombs, because sometimes the NPCs, when they spawn inside the structure that is there, and then they start yeeting out of the side, and they are going to be out of your smart bomb range. And then you either have the chance, the option to turn off all your smart bombs, deploy drones, try to kill it, and then that's very annoying. Or you just have a character in a ship that can gun. So you have a normal ship with normal weapons. I have a sentry ears, and then you can snipe that ship real quick. Another thing this EOS does is it's responsible for the relative fleet warps, because CCP introduced relative fleet warps, so now I do not have to burn my Prexi into the side. I can just warp them straight on top of the gate, so that's also pretty nice. So yeah, one thing I'd like to do is, so now I have to activate all of these modules. Because I'm pretty lazy, I just use these chat commands, because then you don't actually have to click your modules. You just cycle through your accounts, and you put this into your chat, and then all of your modules will be activated, which is pretty convenient. So you need to see, now this is activated, everything's on. Yeah, I can quickly go over the EOS fit, but it's nothing really special. It's just mostly damage. I have links. I only pop these links when there's a dreadnought spawn, because they give me 1 second less align time and a bit more tank. So I always like to have these. In case of cap spawns, then we go to tracking links for range, MJD also for cap spawns, battery for cap. We got a small amount of tank. We don't really need that because we never get shot in the sides, and then damage. Yeah, most of the times you don't really need this character if you have that many Praxi. But if you have less spot bombers, then you will need it sometimes. I used to do this with 2 Macarius, and even that worked. So if you have, like, if you don't have a lot of guns, what you can also do is you can put your gunner into a marauder without guns, without siege. So you have, for example, if you take a paladin, it has 8 high slots, so you can do 4 guns and 4 smart bombs. And then you warp your Praxi to the side, and then you have to burn in with all your accounts, because you can't do relative fleet formations, because your Praxi will also be smart bombing. And then let's say you have two Makas and 1 paladin, then you also have 20 smart bombs, plus the paladin DPS as a gunner, and that also works. Of course you won't do the havens as fast as if you have 8 Praxi, but it works. So I would say if you have 3 toons, this is also already a thing you can consider. Of course if you have more, then it's just gonna be faster and more ISK. So yeah, Macarials, if you fit them pretty much the same way as I did my Praxi. You just fit low slots, you fit tank, then mid slots you do MGD cap, and high slots you do these smart bombs. Another thing you can do is, if you have the accounts, you can run a defensive paladin in the ESS. You do tend to get a lot of money in the ESS, so if you want to defend that versus like some random stabber sealing that, you can just put a paladin, 150 off the beacon, cloak it, and then if he comes in, you can just decloak and kill him. So, let's go over the side. We only want to do rock havens. There are 2 types of havens in Nilesec. There are the gas havens and the rock havens. And to find out what haven is what, we warp to them and then immediately control space to cancel. And right now you saw nothing happened, so this is a gas haven. Because if there's a rock haven, then this pop-up will appear. So now I know KAY is a rock haven. So I'm just gonna do this with all the havens, prepare. And if you only run rock havens, only rock havens will respawn. So you only have to do this once at the beginning of your ratting session. And then you're fine. You can also see there's someone running Thunderchilds right now with me in system. I think he has 5 Thunderchilds. So yeah, you can do this with any amount of accounts. Obviously not with 1, but if you have at least a few, then this is already a thing you can do. So now I have to descan where the Thunderchilds are. There's an Ishtar in this side. Okay, Thunderchilds are not doing rock havens, that's very nice. So this side is empty, so I just right click, warp fleet relative. And you will see why relative fleet warping is so strong. And I will also get out my smart bomb command and paste it into my Praxi, so I can activate my smart bombs as soon as I'm in the site. Okay, here we are. This is the rock haven. And the NPCs always spawn at the gate here. And normally I would now have to burn in with my Praxi, but due to relative fleet warping, they're already here. So I just have to cycle through, activate all of my smart bombs, and that's it. Now the site is basically done. I don't have to do anything. I like to already paste my command for the next site into the chat channels. So, and now we just watch all of the NPCs explode. We can check our positioning. This looks fine. And we can check again if everyone is smart bombing, which is also fine. So yeah, now we just wait. One thing I would recommend is to put NPC capitals, so dreadnoughts and titans, who are separate overview, so you can see them when they spawn. I do this here. I have them on my warp out tab. This is just to have the extra security to not miss them. Especially if you read it for like 1 or 2 hours, you might be a bit fatigued, you don't really pay attention anymore, and then it's better if you have a clear sight of them. So yeah, these NPCs are spawning and they are dying. You can see that they are getting spawn trapped. We can lock one up real quick. They are dying quite fast. One thing to note is that I have thermal smart bombs right now, So if you're in other space, for example, if you have EM smart bombs, you will actually do more damage, because thermal smart bombs, they have a lot of range, but they have less damage. So yeah, I'm actually slower than I would be in other space, but it's still quite fast, and all of them are dying at the same rate, which is why what makes this AoE rating so strong, which is also why Thunder Children are so strong, because you don't have to kill every rat by itself, they just all die at the same time. So yeah, this side has a chance to escalate to a 10 out of 10, or a capital escalation. Those are the capital stagings and the shielded starbase. It can also escalate to a occupied mine. This is basically a haven that gives you a guaranteed faction spawn. And it can also escalate to the officer escalation. That gives you a guaranteed officer escalation, but that basically never happens. So yeah, the site in itself can also spawn a Shadow's Apprentice, so a faction spawn in the last wave. So yeah, you can make some good money even behind the ticks. The ISK per hour really depends on the amount of characters you have and your luck. With this, with 8 smart bombers and 1 gunner, I mostly make around a bill per hour. So sometimes it's a bit less, sometimes it's a bit more. This is due to just escalation and faction drops, because the escalations sell quite good. So only with ticks, I would say I'm pulling about maybe 600 mil an hour. And then, yeah, 600 mil is good, because it's mostly like 100 mil for ticks and then 100 mil in ESS, so 3 ticks per hour, that's 600 mil per hour. And then you get faction spawns and you get escalations, and that adds up. Because like the faction spawns can, I think I've had 4 faction spawns right now that gave me like 400 mil, so that instantly bumps you up to a bill per hour. We can see now there's an Ishtar in the side, that's not a problem, we just descan the other sides, see if we can go there. We are going to warp to this one, because there's an MTU there, and I don't know why. Ah, the Jaguar warp there, okay. So yeah, we're going to warp to the next side. Of course, competition is a thing. You have to find if you want to be left alone, you have to do some research, find a system that's quiet. But yeah, if you're in it, then Fountain is only has X amount of good systems for rating, so you will mostly be competing with people, but that's just how it is. So yeah, these are pretty easy. I'm gonna show you after the site what you do if there's a faction spawn. Basically, it's not really dangerous if you know what to do, because also in the last wave they warp in, they do not just appear, which gives you more time to react than before. So let's do this again. Wait for the NPCs to spawn. So basically what you want to do is you want to have a shortcut setup for your MGD, and you want that to be the same on all the clients. So it's Y on this one, it's Y on this one, it's Y on this one, it's Y on all of the clients. And then if a dreadnought spawns, you just use your shortcut that you use in preview and then spam the shortcut for MJD, and then you can MJD with all of them at pretty much the same time. So yeah, this is also a pretty neat thing that they added, that you can see the wave, because you used to, like, you have to be ready for the last wave. Normally that the indicator I used is, well, as soon as there's cruiser in the wave, that's the 5th wave, and then I know after this wave there will be the last wave, because of course you have to watch out for faction spawns, for capital spawns. But now you can kind of just watch this meter fill up, and you don't actually have to pay attention to the site anymore, so that's also a buff. So yeah, these break size, they look like they are quite far, but the range is enormous, especially in the 9 kilometer smart bombs. They just cover so much range, and even if you have normal smart bombs like 7.5 kilometers, you will be fine. Like this guy is 4 kilometers from me and he just dies. So yeah, and if they do get out of range, you can always use your gunner. Not a big deal. Okay, so now we got 5th wave. That's the cruiser wave. You could use your gunner every time, but if you have a lot of accounts, it doesn't matter. Although when I did this with 2 Makarials, I used the gunner and I split my guns and I spread them on all of the targets, which then gave me faster clear times. So now it's the last wave. So we're gonna do that real quick. Then I'm gonna show you what I do when there's a faction spawn. So basically, also when I'm normally running sites, this is time where I already warp, because your Prexa take a bit of time to align. So if you already hit warp while there's still smart bombing, then it's more efficient because you lose like 2 or 3 seconds during the site. So let's say there's a dreadnought there. So now you just go through your clients and you spam, and you can see all of them. Actually, none of them are smart bombing. Looks like my hotkey didn't react. But yeah, you can also just go through and left click, and then you can see they are all going to jump out now, sooner or later. And the dreadnought does not have more than 100 kilometers point range, so now you can just pop yourself to a safe, and you're fine. So let's not get my ears smart bombed here. So yeah, that's Haven rating basically. It's pretty much, it's good ISK, it's also not that hard. So I would definitely recommend checking it out. I think one myth is that a lot of people think that you need like 5 or 6 or 10 tunes for this. This is not the case. You can do this with 2 tunes, 3 tunes. No, not really with 2 tunes, but 3 tunes, like 2 smart bombers, 1 gunner. It's already possible. I have a friend who does it with 3 Makas and 1 gunner. So it is definitely possible if you do not have a lot of tunes. So yeah, I would recommend checking it out. It's quite fun. The initial investment is quite high, of course. You have these smart bombs; they are very expensive. But yeah, it adds up the money you get, and I think it's quite fun as well. So yeah, if you enjoyed the video, feel free to let me know. If you have any questions, ask in the comments, I'll try to answer. And yeah, thanks for watching, and I will see you guys next time. Aha, video's not over yet. So what I noticed is that in the video I think I said like 2 or 3 times that you can do this with less accounts, but I never actually showed it. So I quickly want to show you that it is possible with less accounts. In this example I have 4 accounts now, so 1 gunner and 3 marks. And you can see that the marks are pretty much the same fits as the Prexa. You have smart bombs, cap, MJD, tank, and cap, and in the rigs cap as well. And then for the gunner, I'm using a Vindicator. This is due to the reason that it does good damage against the local NPCs. So we are using guns, and the high slots obviously is a gunner. In the midst we got a trank imputer. This is to enhance our range, as blasters do not have the best range. Then we got the MJD and capacitor to be cap stable. In the lows we are running some tank, just to tank the site, because of course if you have less characters, then sometimes the site does actually get to lock you and shoot you, so we have a bit more tank than the other fits. And we got 3 max steps for damage. In the rigs we got more cap and a locus for more range. You probably don't need to be stable with this, but I also like to, I always like to run my PvE fit stable just so they are more relaxed. So yeah, 1 Vindy, 3 max, and let's warp into a site. And we can see that this works just as well as with more accounts. Obviously you're going to make a bit less money because it will take you longer to complete these sites, but you also don't have to pay that many subs. So it's kind of a personal preference how much accounts you are going to run. But yeah, it's definitely possible. I actually used to do this with 1 Macariel, but that was with the old Havens where they still had the rock formations. I don't know if it's actually that viable nowadays with the reworked Havens. But yeah, so there we have our max landing. So let's copy paste the commands that we already know. They are on top of the gate, which is awesome. So boom, boom, boom. Let's hope that they don't drift out as much, but they do not. They just stick together. So yeah, now we got these 3. Of course, the marks they have a bit more individual DPS because they all have 8 high slots, and they're also a bit bigger. So marks are pretty cool because they are the biggest battleship. They are even bigger than Prexa. So you actually have more range with the smart bombs. Of course, this doesn't really matter in Fountain because the thermal smart bombs have such a ridiculous range. But for example, if you do this in Gorilla space, where you are going to use kinetic, then this is going to be very useful. Now we just have to stop our marks from burning away. And yeah, you can see that their NPCs are dying comfortably. I can lock them up to make it faster. I usually like to make 2 groups of guns, so 4 each. And then I just I shoot the NPCs to complete the sets faster. This actually also works if I actually do it and not just when they're almost dead. But it usually helps speeding up the site quite a bit. So yeah, you're seeing that they don't like instantly die, but they are still taking good chunks of damage. So yeah, I would certainly say that this is still viable. So now these two are almost set, so I can switch my guns to these two. And we just complete the site a bit faster. Of course, you can also, what I already said in the beginning, you can use the Marauders as gunners and burn in with your characters, but then you can't use the Relative Fleet Warp anymore. And I really like the Relative Fleet Warp, so I do not do that. But if you don't have the Relative Fleet Warp skill anyway, you can use a Marauder as a gunner and then use the 3 high slots you have for smart bombs to do even more damage. So I would use a Kronos, put 4 guns for smart bombs, and then complete the sites just a bit faster. But I don't really like burning in and out of the sites, so I just use the Vindicator and I can chill. Actually, let's do 4 stacks of 2 guns, so I don't have to split my guns so much. Just shoot all 4 battleships at one time. Probably, I think it probably is faster than doing 2-2. I'd have to test that, but yeah. Alright, now it's second to last wave, I think. Yep, there we go. The cruisers are already always assigned that the next wave is going to be the wave where a dreadnought can spawn. So usually I try to watch out for cruisers, and once I see cruisers I know that I kind of have to wake up. So if there's only 3 battleship, I like to just headshot one and then put my other guns onto the other 2 that are surviving. So now this guy's dead, so next cycle I can do 2-2. So 2-2. And now we got the last wave. So let's hope there's not a dreadnought spawn. Hey, there we go. And we can just try to blast some battleships. Although in this wave, since there are so many battleships, I don't think it actually matters if we shoot them or not. Because when they are killed, then the other ones will also be almost dead, so it won't really matter if we put blasters on them. But hey, might as well. Can probably even use anti, to be honest, since we are so close to the NPCs. But yeah, whatever. So yeah, that's a site with 3 Macarials. Obviously you can scale it down even more, you can do 2 Macarials. As I said, 1 is probably also possible, but that is going to cut it close with the possibility of running sites. But yeah, this is perfectly fine to run with this account. So yeah, now actually, I hope you enjoyed the videos. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments and I will try to answer them. Thank you for watching the video, I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you next time.